Well, hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. Chris White is an English musician, bass guitarist, songwriter, vocalist, and producer. He is most known as a member of the Zombies, where he was one of the main composers of both the music and lyrical content. Band's 1968 album, Odyssey and Oracle, is a classic and one of the acclaimed releases of the 1960s. After the Zombies, Chris wrote and co-produced, along with Rod Argent, a trio of Colin Blunstone albums in the early 70s. He also co-wrote and co-produced for Rod's progressive rock band, Argent. Chris continued to write songs and produce throughout the 70s and onwards. In 2019, Chris was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of the Zombies. That same year, Mr. White started amassing demos, co-writes, collaborations, productions, and unreleased material, and began issuing these songs as the Chris White Experience. So far, there have been 6 releases, with a brand new The Best Of earlier this year. And in 2020, Chris helped unearth an album by the band Sparrow, which he originally produced in 1975. Well, welcome, Chris.
Welcome, Greg.
Thank you for being here and taking time out to visit with me. Well, take us back to the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in London, actually, during the war. So I remember the end of the war parties, and the buzz bombs as well,
Oh, okay. Well,
Three.
As a child, did you play in any of those bombed out buildings?
No, we had lots of relatives living with us because they got bombed. So I was in North London at the time, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you avoided that. Yeah. Well, talk about some fond childhood memories.
Well, I was 5 when I left London, and my parents moved out to a shop my father was a chief inspector on buses of London. So but he left that job and opened a shop in a village in Hertfordshire called Markyate.
Okay.
So when I grew up there from really 5 onwards, basically. And I had my own little groups and things, and always wanted to play guitar.
Okay. Well, do you early on, do you remember hearing music in the household?
Yeah, my father played a double bass. He taught me how to play upright bass.
Okay.
Play guitar. I always remember he played Frankie and Johnny at family gatherings, all 70 verses of it. So it was, I was built in with music in the family. My Uncle Ted was an arranger for the BBC and with the Billy Turnant's Orchestra. So I've got quite a musical family,
Okay, so that's nice to have that backbone, and they were encouraging. I'm assuming
Yeah.
with your decision to get into music.
Yeah, well, I thought I was going to be an art teacher. I was at art college for 4 years.
Okay.
Joined the Zombies. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so was the guitar or the bass the first instrument you learned how to play?
First instrument was the guitar.
Okay. All right. Can you remember maybe one of the first singles or albums that you bought yourself?
I think that was Buddy Holly, I think.
Oh, okay.
I love Buddy Holly, yeah.
That's not bad. I've heard how influential he was
Yeah.
across the pond in your area over there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
How about some other artists and musicians that you were into early on?
Oh, it's a long time ago now. Let me think now. In fact, what was popular over here was a thing called skiffle. So Lonnie Donegan started that.
Lonnie Donegan, yeah.
Definitely Lonnie Donegan. And Little Richard,
Yeah.
Chuck Berry, all those people, very influential,
Yeah.
And actually, even so, I mean, when we started recording, that was 1964, and our first single went to #1 in America. So we went over to America for the Murray the K's Christmas show.
Yes.
Because we were working with all the American heroes, Benny King, the Drifters, the Shangri-Las, Patti LaBelle, all these Dusty Springfield we worked with in England. So it was, for us, it was incredible. It's like going to Magic Land, you know. Coming into
Right.
New York, I always remember coming to New York. I heard sirens for the first time on cars because we just had bells on our police cars and ambulances. It was like living. It's like living in a movie, to be quite honest, you know.
Right, right. Well, a couple of things when you mentioned Chuck Berry, I know that when he toured, he didn't have his own band.
Yeah,
He would just assemble, local musicians to play.
cheaper way to do it. Yeah,
Right.
and of course the
Right.
musicians' union had a. You had to. If we played over there, someone had to play back here in return.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unions were very strong in those days. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned Murray the K. Back in
Yeah.
those days, the DJs were like artists themselves.
Yeah.
They,
He called
they
himself the fifth Beatle, didn't he, Murray the K?
Right. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Well, talk about, let me ask you this. Were you in a band before the Zombies?
I had my own Chris White skiffle group.
Okay.
I worked with several other people playing around because at school, I was at senior school, I was basically working with different friends and musicians, and we used to play and do things, just play around, really, to be quite honest, you know.
Okay, but no recorded material, anything?
No recorded material, no.
Okay, okay.
Didn't have
Well,
wax cylinders at the time.
right, right. Well, so story goes, Colin Blunstone was the first Future member that you met.
No, I met Rod first of all.
Oh, you met Rod first. Okay, okay.
Because when I was playing in a dance band, I was playing double bass then, and basically I once went round to his house because a friend of mine at school was knew him and he lived up the road from him, and I asked him if he wanted to join a dance band, and he politely declined. But then later when I was at art college, a friend of mine who was at school with me was managing the Zombies at the time, and he said that his brother was leaving to be a doctor. That's Paul Arnold, and he said, "Do you fancy joining the band?" So I said, "I'll have a go, yeah." And so that was the start of it, 1961, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, early 60s. Yeah, I was going to mention that you weren't the original bassist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Paul. Yeah, Paul. Okay, well, good break for you that he was leaving the band.
Yeah, well, they caught him playing one of the tracks with one of his hands in his pocket because it was open string.
Is that right?
It wasn't that key, really, no. But I think he did come up with a name.
Oh, okay. All right. So, do you know where that originated from, or why he came up with the Zombies?
No, I had no idea.
You don't know the story behind that? Okay.
Well, they went through several names to keep finding same people. Had other groups had the same name going, so we had to keep changing the name, you know.
Yeah.
So they just, why not call ourselves the Zombies? No one's ever going to choose that.
Right. You know, me and my friend who's best friend who's deceased now. One year for Halloween, it was like an inside joke. Most people didn't get it. We dressed up with the black suits, you know, and we kind of made our faces real pale, and so we were the Zombies, you know, like the, you know,
right, real zombie. Oh, not
right,
real.
right, the Zombies and the band,
zombies.
yeah, and the band, you know. Of course, nobody went right over most people's heads. Yeah. Well, so later you did meet Colin, Paul, and Hugh, and I guess we'll talk about the your earliest memories of joining the band.
Well, you've got to remember, I'm 2 years older than most of the other band, and they were still at school, so we used to rehearse at the weekends, and Hugh, the drummer. The nice thing is we're all friends still now. We know each other, which is very rare for 60s bands, you know, actually liking each other and knowing each other. But several weeks after playing at clubs and things, Hugh Grundy, the drummer, went up to Colin and said, "What's the name of our bass player?" Because basically every rehearsal he was going out with the daughter of the dean of the church we used to rehearse in, and basically he kept disappearing. So we didn't really probably meet until several weeks later, you know.
Okay. How funny. Well, early on, like a lot of bands at the time, you were playing a lot of R&B and a lot of R&B covers, and you started, writing your own material. Can you remember one of your first live gigs?
No. I did 62 years ago, basically.
Okay.
We just played in local clubs, and because there were lots of clubs in those days, but we had to play after school hours, basically.
Okay. How about your first time with the band in a recording studio? Can you remember any recollection?
Yes, I remember that. We won this contest called the Heart Speed, which is Hertfordshire Heart Speed contest. We didn't think we'd win. The others were going to do college. The group was going to finish, but we thought we'd enter as a last chance. So there were about 100 groups entered it. And basically we won by chance.
Oh,
and we got offered the contract by several people. But then I said to my father, we had all these offers, these awful managers and everything. And he said that, let me talk to your Uncle Ted, because he was an arranger at the BBC. And he said, well, I don't know anything about records, but I do know somebody who does called Ken Jones. So he met this Ken Jones with all the contracts and asked him what we should do. And he went through them and he said, well, I'll tell you all the good clauses and the bad clauses. So he went, he went through the whole, said, that's an awful clause. That's a good one. Then we said to him, Colin said to him basically, well, can you offer us anything? He said, yes, I'll give you all the best clauses. Publishing.
Oh,
so, that has been going on for 60 years now. So basically, we've still benefited by honest people in the publishing side.
Right.
But then we didn't have a manager, but unfortunately, we got to sign up with Tito Burns, not to do with the recordings, but then he turned out to have stolen about 2 million quid off us in the end. We found it. But that was par for the course in the days, you know.
Right. It was. Well, it was good that early on that you got those publishing rights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because how important that is, and so many bands didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Didn't have somebody in their corner.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned Murray the K earlier. What led to the band appearing on Hullabaloo? That was the big beginning of '60.
It was. I think that was the first colour TV we'd ever done, because we didn't have it in England at the time.
Yeah.
So it was I remember we were asked to do it, and Jack Jones, I think, introduced it. Was it Jack Jones? I'm not sure, but we had to dance at some time as well. And then the choreographer was one from West Side Story film. I think it was action he played, but we were so bad at dancing that they cut that bit out.
That wasn't really part of your repertoire, the dancing. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. Well, one of my favorite early tracks is "Leave Me Be," the B side to "Tell Her No."
Yes.
I think it could have been an A side single.
Rod always says that's where he thinks that should have been our second issue.
Right.
But the song we had after that was I've forgotten it was now. "You Make Me Feel Good," I think, and that bombed basically.
Right.
Except that later, Cher of Sonny and Cher, they did it.
Oh, okay.
And she's just done for her last Christmas album. She did one of my songs as well.
Is that right? Okay, I hadn't heard those.
This Will Be Our Year. She did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Never met her. Never met her.
Never met. Well, the first album released in the States, titled "The Zombies,"
yes,
included both early singles "She's Not There" and "Tell Her No."
Yes.
The UK debut, "Begin Here," was a collection of R&B covers and original songs.
That's right. We had to, because when we had "She's Not There" come up, they had to do an album. Basically, anything we played on stage and what we did normally, we didn't have songs available at the time. So we just had a couple of songs, but basically we did mostly R&B standards, you know.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I do like your "I Can't Make Up My Mind."
I'm right.
Off of the original, the first album. Yes, nice track. And of course, the album has "She's Not There,"
yes,
and a really nice rendition of "Summertime."
Oh, Colin did a great version of that. Yeah.
Oh yes, I think yours is the best that I've ever heard of Summertime.
Oh, Colin will really like that.
Yes, yes. You enjoy doing that one.
Yeah.
But the song that may be my favorite on that album is Rod's I Remember When I Loved Her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just love the whole, feel of that song, and kind of a jazzy
Yeah.
feel, but really nice, really nice.
Well, I owe a lot to Rod and a lot to Colin, because when you've got a keyboard player who's
Yeah.
that talented and a singer got that voice, you
Oh
can't
yeah,
go wrong as a songwriter, because you write songs for who you are with,
right, right. Did you guys realize that early on
No.
that was a good? Oh, okay, okay,
I
okay.
remember when we recorded Odyssey and Oracle,
Yeah.
Rod and I, who were the main songwriters, we weren't quite happy with Ken Jones, our publisher, because he kept making everything sound like She's Not There, because you had a hit, you followed it on. So we wanted to produce ourselves. So Rod and I said, let's produce ourselves. So Ken Jones, the other part of the publishing company, said, I can get you into Abbey Road. He said, and CBS will give you £1,000 to do an album. £1,000 in Abbey Road, right?
Right, right.
But then we did one in mono, and they said, well, this stereo is getting very interesting. We'd like you to remix it in stereo.
Right.
Because it's all recorded on 4-track.
Right, right.
She's Not There. So Time of the Odyssey and Oracle, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to get up to that, but I also wanted to go back to the film Bunny Lake is Missing.
Oh,
yeah. How did you guys get asked to contribute to the soundtrack?
I don't know. I think what's his name? What was his name? Who produced? Who was the director of that? Otto Preminger, that's right.
Yes, yes, yes.
He had to audition for him in a club in London, and he said, "Oh, because he wanted to have music in it, because he thought it might be a good idea." So we did that, and then we did it. We had to come off a tour for 3 filming things, and they filmed at one of the TV studios, and we spent 3 days recording. And then in the film, we just appeared on a TV set in a bar, which Lawrence Olivier comes over and turns it off when we play.
Right,
that's
right.
We got equal billing though with Lawrence Olivier.
Right. It's like if you blinked, you missed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, right. I remember me and my friend, watching that, and I think we rented it on VHS, and we were like, okay, just when are they going to play? When are they going to, in anticipation for that. But yeah, nothing's changed. That's a really nice, my favorite from that movie. And it also, Nothing's Changed sounds like it could have been a later song that would have fit nicely on Odyssey and Oracle. To me,
we just kept writing. In fact, after Odyssey and Oracle, because we were separate writers, so we wrote separately. Rod and I decided to open up our own recording production company.
Yeah.
And Rod suddenly said, "Why don't we put our joint names on everything we write? Because one song can keep us going." And that was very generous of him, because he had the 2 hits in America.
Right, right, exactly.
So
exactly.
That's why we're still friends.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I Love You for me is right up there with the best early songs, like She's Not There and Tell Her No.
Yes.
And originally it was a B-side, right? Another one.
I think so, yeah. Because People had a hit with it, didn't they?
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's another one I think should have been an A-side for you guys. Well, why was the band dropped by Decca?
Because we weren't selling. Simple as that. See, we had She's Not There, and then it follows up, went lower and lower and lower. So they didn't renew the contract, because it was a lease tape deal. Okay. So they didn't sign us as a group. They signed us as a lease tape.
Okay.
They didn't renew it. Simple as that.
Okay, that's what happened. Okay.
The next thing you see.
Right, right. Well, Colin didn't write many songs, but one I really liked that he wrote was How We Were Before.
Oh yes.
You recall that one. And another B-side. It's interesting with a lot of bands from that were coming up in the 60s and even later. I tend to like on the singles the B sides better than the A sides a lot of
That's a
times.
popular view because
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
with online things now you don't get B-sides. So.
Right. You know, so many times the A side was what the record label was pushing.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And the B side, the band preferred that a lot of times. You know,
Yeah.
those tracks.
Yes.
So, well, luckily CBS snapped you up.
Yes.
Yeah. And
and we did for £1,000. We did the whole album in Abbey Road Studios,
yeah.
and then they said basically we like it in stereo. And of course, Rod and I put up the money for the remix in stereo, so that was our money, Rod and mine.
a great.
And it didn't sell.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I had a comment about that coming up. Well, let me ask you. We kind of referred to it a little bit earlier about the turning to composing more Baroque pop songs from the R&B, earlier R&B material. Was that just like a genesis of the band, or was that a conscious effort?
I think that was mainly Rod, because Rod was the leader, basically, and he wanted to be more progressive and more inventive. And because we both liked jazz, Miles Davis, and those sort of things.
Oh yeah.
So and Rod was in a choir in the St. Albans Cathedral, so he was a choir boy as well. So arrangements and vocal harmonies were his booth, really, basically. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you've referred a little bit to the recording sessions for Odyssey and Oracle. Any other interesting stories? I did see an interview with Rod and Colin, and saying that the Beatles left behind the Mellotron.
Yes, we went in there, and Rod's eyes lit up because we rehearsed before we went in, because we knew we could only do 3 hours at a time because of the money. And we went in there, and there was John Lennon left his Mellotron, so Rod's eyes lit up, and he.
Yeah.
So when we recorded an original 4-track, we had bass drums and guitar on one track, keyboards on another, lead vocal on the third one, and we did vocals on the 4th track. But then Beatles had invented this system where they transferred 4 to another 4-track, so they had another 3 tracks because one was a link.
Gotcha.
And so they gave us a few other tracks, so we could add different things to them.
Okay. Well, that was
because America had 8-track, but we only had 4-track. It wasn't available in England,
Oh, okay. How much later did you guys get the 8-track? Do you remember? Was it?
I don't remember. It was after Odyssey and Oracle. Yeah.
Okay, it's after that.
And then it went 8, 16, then 24-track.
Yeah.
Sometimes Rod actually, when they were with the current touring band, he rehearses and does it as simple as possible, as we used to do it, because you get more feeling between the musicians that way,
Right. Well, the album Odyssey and Oracle would be released in '68, and that was after the band had split up and broken up.
Well, Rod and I decided to form a production company and called Nexus, and we started doing Colin's album and then Argent's album, because Rod wanted to be more progressive.
Yeah.
Basically, that's when we started, just after the Zombies split up. We were in New York when it was at #1. She's Not There.
Yeah.
And that was a wonderful feeling, basically. No, we weren't. Sorry, that's wrong. We were in there. Time of the Season was #1. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Time of the Season, the mega hit from the album, is probably the band's most popular and enduring song.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of fans or music fans in general delved into the album or actually listened to the entire album. They kind of were satisfied with She's Not There, Time of the Season, stuff there. But hardcore fans like myself did. And I know over the years, more and more people have. More fans have.
It was fantastic being inducted. And of course, we decided, I think it was 2007, we decided to tour Odyssey and Odyssey and Oracle, because we'd never premiered it. We'd never performed Odyssey and Oracle. Right. So part of Rod and Colin's touring Zombies, we did the whole album from beginning to end live in the second half. Yeah.
Right, right,
And we
right.
got one of the albums that did affect us a lot was Pet Sounds.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Darin Sahanaja, who was the keyboard player with Brian Wilson,
Yeah.
said he got tickets to come across to see us because it was one of his favorite albums. Then he phoned me up and he said, jokingly, "Do you fancy another keyboard player?" And I said it to Rod, and Rod said, "Well, we need someone to play the mellotron at the same time as him."
Yeah.
So Darin Sahanaja toured with us, so that's fantastic.
Oh, is that okay? Wow. Yeah, that was really nice.
Mm.
To have that happen. Well, yeah, don't don't get me wrong. Time of the Season is a great song, but I think there are so many others on Odyssey and Oracle I feel are superior to that track even. Yeah, and if I may, I wanted to mention the songs that you penned, and maybe get if you can recall your backstory. Right, go back, brush off some of those cobwebs, and get some of the backstory, maybe inspiration on the songs, or any interesting anecdotes about the songs. If you could. Maybe After He's Gone. That's one of my all-time favorite zombie songs. I've got to say, I just love the feel of that one. And I love the intro guitar and the echoey drums, and of course Colin's vocals.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't remember why I wrote it, but basically,
okay. A relationship song. Yeah.
Well, you come up with a melody pattern or a drum rhythm or something, and then you'd write round it. As simple as that,
Right. Beechwood Park. So summery. Still evokes those blissful days in the sun. Also right up there with one of my favorites. How did Paul get that guitar effect? Do you remember that?
I think it was through a Leslie speaker. I think, I'm not sure, but actually, Beechwood Park. When I was a kid, my father had a grocery store and did deliveries. And one of the deliveries we did to a girls' private school in Beechwood Park.
Oh, okay.
It's where I learned to drive because I couldn't. I was too young to drive on the roads, And basically, that's when all those images come from that.
Oh.
Beechwood Park is a place just north of Margate, west of
Margate. Right.
Water.
Yeah. Again, it's just one of those perfect summer type songs. It just takes you back, evokes those memories. Yes. And then, I mean, the first side of the album, I have to say, in my opinion, is the best side of any album at any time.
Oh, thank you.
Side B is not far behind. Let me say that too. But side A, another right after Beechwood Park, Brief Candles.
Oh, right.
Begins simply with the piano, similar to A Rose for Emily.
Yes.
And the beautiful chorus. And then I like the end of the song, how it just plays out with the piano.
Yes, that's Rod all over. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's another wonderful song. Changes. Very minimal instrumentation. I love the mellotron. There it is, and almost a cappella.
It was the first time all 5 of us had sung in harmony, and when we were doing that at Abbey Road, we were doing 3-hour sessions, but the clock was ticking up to 1 o'clock, and basically we tried to put those vocals on, but while we were singing, white attendants came in and moved the piano away from it as we were recording it.
Oh, is that right?
We had to use it because we only had enough money to do all that stuff, you see. So
there
was no going hours in the studio. It was 3-hour sessions a day,
Right. Okay. I always find it interesting how bands and songwriters decide on like a fade out or just an abrupt ending, or like in this case, the piano just playing out at the end. That's always interesting.
Just at the time when we mixed it, when Rod and I mixed it.
Yeah.
It was faded out, simpler, I had good engineering.
Right. Well, it comes through in the music. On flipping over to the B side, This Will Be Our Year. Now that's a very life-affirming, positive song.
It's become a perennial wedding song now.
Right. I can see why. I can
I
see
played
why.
it at two of my son's weddings.
Uh-huh. Okay. Right. I like the addition of the trumpet in that one too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Really, really nice. Yeah, I can see that being a wedding song, you know.
Yeah.
uh, too late for me. I would have liked to have used it before I got married. Maybe we'll do revisit our vows and and use that.
I'll have to do that myself. Yeah.
Right. And then
Especially
Butcher.
it took a long time to come.
Okay, there you go. That's right, Chris. That's right. Well, Butcher's Tale, Western Front, 1914. I remember going back to my best friend. I'll mention his name, Rex, because he's the one that introduced me to Time of the Zombies, that double album. He said the song at the time was too depressing to listen to. You know,
He would just skip past it when they played.
Right. He didn't want to listen to that, but he came around eventually. He came around to, and eventually liked it. But I liked it right away.
Well, the story about that is the fact is, my mother's brother signed up in the war, and he lied about his age, and he got killed in the Battle of the Somme.
Oh, okay.
So, but then I read the book, but I think it's the Donkeys. It was about the First World War. I was driving to a rehearsal with Rod and the boys, and then I suddenly thought, well, the first day, 40,000 people died, and I thought about all the other families that were affected by that each day, all these casualties going on. And I got so upset, I pulled to the side of the road, and that's when I decided to write the song, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And the analogy with as a butcher, I like that.
Yeah. Well, my Saturday's job was delivering meat for the on a butcher's bike. Yeah.
Right. Very well done. And that's your vocals on that track.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, we're doing a tribute to Rod Argent in November, and the band and guest singers are coming, and I'm going to sing that one song again. You know, everything somewhere to play the keyboard.
Okay, all right. Friends of mine, Rex, my friend, I think this was his favorite on the album. We used to drink certain, let's say, alcoholic beverages while listening to the album. And we would take turns picking our favorites, pretending we're singing or playing air guitar or air keyboard, while we're playing along to the song. And that was one that he would always pick to sing along to.
The people on there are really friends. Well, a lot of them are now divorced or dead now, because it's a long time ago. But they were friends, it's simple as that,
Yeah, at the time they were, yeah. I think that's what he liked about it was the names going back and forth, and all that. Well, as I mentioned in my first email, I was first introduced through the Time of the Zombies, that double album. And it had all of Odyssey and Oracle on there, plus extra tracks.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention a few of those. Again, get your, story, anecdotes, backstory. I'll Call You Mine. And that was the B-side to Time of the Season single. Time of the single. I just cut out the season. Time of the B-side to Time of the Season. Yeah, that's a nice one.
Well, yeah, Rod wrote a lot of good stuff, excellent, and we were a good team together as well.
Right. On those where you co-wrote with Rod, did you have more of an influence with the lyrics or the music?
Well, what happened is we shared a flat at the time, and he'd have his keyboard in his room, and I had an upright pump organ and a keyboard. But basically, we'd come up with ideas, then see what the other person thought, Yeah, and if we liked it, we worked on it. Simple as that.
Yeah. Well, a long, lasting collaborative effort, and between the two of you guys worked very well together. Yeah. I got to say, Smoky Day. That's another one that is similar to Beechwood Park. It's kind of more mellow. This one's a little more somber. Yeah, but I like it. but
Written guitar, that one was written. Yeah.
yes. But I like that one as well. And then Don't Cry for Me, great harmonies on that
All right. Yes. Oh,
one.
blimey.
Yeah.
I'm remembering all these now. It's quite weird. Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I have trouble remembering who wrote what.
Yeah.
Because it's such a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
these are the ones that either you wrote or you and
Yeah.
Rod
Yeah.
co-wrote together, or
Well,
at least Chris.
when we wrote together, we have all the songs and we put our own little on. If Rod wrote something, I put a tiny bit and alter another thing, and he wrote other things. Like Hold Your Head Up. Which
Yeah.
Rod did with great organ solos and things on it. So it was a teamwork, simple as that. You joined working together.
Right. And you had to be somewhat humble too to be able to do that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To be able to work together like that with anybody.
Well, you've got to remember when we first went to America, I was 21, just 21. The others were 2 years younger. So I was the only one who could drink legally.
Okay.
So that's what I was pleased about. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you rub that in? Did you?
Boy, I can drink now. Yeah.
You guys can't.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. Well, here's one that is again one of my top favorites. Imagine the Swan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, you and Rod again. With the harp, the harpsichord.
That was my song, first of all.
Okay.
So, and Rod worked on it with me, but yeah. So it was harpsichord because he liked the harpsichord.
Yes, the harpsichord.
Yeah.
That's one of.
But I got the idea for another book title. I can't remember what it was. I sing the song Electric. I think it's B.J. Ballard, what his name is now. It was a science fiction book, and I just liked the title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I mean, we can kind of imagine the Swan. I mean, you imagine what the song's about too. But
that was the story. Yes, because in this story, J.G. Ballard. That's right, and I think it was him. And basically, there was an old lady who he was in the story was friends with, and she said, "I'm not this old lady now, but when you look at me, imagine the swan I used to be."
Right.
So that's where the idea of the song came from.
Right. Very Baroque. That song. That's one of your most Baroque. And then I Know She Will. Very soulful delivery by Colin. But a nice pop song too.
Oh yeah. I was so lucky to work with such influential people because Colin's voice it was so different, and Rod's keyboard playing was so different, and arrangements. So I was just lucky.
Yeah. Well, his voice really, I mean, suited the material, and vice versa. I mean, it complemented so well.
And he still sings in those keys as well. That's the point. Is
right.
So when we did our songwriting, it was for his range.
Right.
He hasn't changed yet.
Yeah. I mean, just like thinking about the song "Smoky Day." I mean, he's got the smoky vocals too. So it's kind of one in the same.
Right.
Well, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, after the Zombies, you continue to work with Rod, with Argent, writing songs. Most notable, "Hold Your Head Up."
Oh yes.
Yeah, which became a huge, big hit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Big anthem. Yeah. And of course, I visited with Russ not long ago.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, as well as Bob Henrit last year.
Well, Russ and Bob were basically, Rod and I were searching for a drummer. Jim Rodford, who's Colin's cousin, just suggested that we go along and see this drummer because he was playing with another group called the Unit 4+2. And we went along and he said, "Well, come along and see Russ as well." We'd never met him before. And we went along, thought we'd sneak in and look at this. There was hardly any people at the gig, so basically they knew immediately we walked in. And then we asked Bob and Jim to join this new group. We didn't want to call it Argent, but they suggested it.
Yeah.
So it's simple as that, really.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's really
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Bob
Yeah.
and Russ Ballard, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Russ is a really, really nice guy.
Oh, he is, yeah.
Yeah, really, really. Well, and you also wrote and did production work on Colin's solo albums.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
And one on the album 1 Year from 71, you
Yeah.
co-produced with Rod.
That's right.
And it has my favorite Colin Blunstone song, Carolyn Goodbye.
Oh, right.
That's a wonderful, wonderful
Yeah.
song. Yeah.
That was when he was going out with Caroline Munro, who was a famous model and actress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, you and Rod would go on to co-produce his next 2 albums, I believe, next couple of albums.
Yeah.
Like
Yes,
that.
when it got to the final albums that Rod did and I did, and at that point I realized Rod was going far too far from my writing, so I suggested that I didn't join him. So after that I just wrote separately with my wife Vivian Bouchard, who actually toured with us in the Zombies when we did Odyssey and Oracle.
Oh, okay.
As a singer, yeah.
As a singer, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did she enjoy doing that?
Yes, she did, certainly, yeah. Because she and I write a lot of songs now, so it's a family business now, because I've got the 2 sons, myself and Viv, all directors of the company, you know. So that's very nice, you know.
Yeah.
Digging up all these old tracks, because I recorded with Dinah Dawes and different people, you know. I did the first demos for Dire Straits.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. That's right. That's how was it working with those guys?
He's great guitarist, and I worked in a small studio called Pathways. You know, people said he got very difficult, but he always was difficult. But he's talented. You know, the problem is he knew what he wanted. As simple as that. You know.
Right, right. You know, I remember when I first heard it on the radio, Sultans of Swing.
Oh yeah.
I thought that's American group. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I just knew. You know, and then when I found out, I was like, wow, you know, kind of a little bit, you know, mind blowing there, but yeah, he's a great guitarist. Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about the family. You've done some work with your sons Matthew and Jamie or JJ, producing, co-writing, and performing.
That's right.
How is that?
Well, I leave all the business and work with them because I'm too old to do anything now.
Okay.
But I write with my wife. She we've been married nearly 30 years now. So basically, my second wife, because their mother was years ago. She's not the mother of the boys, but we get on very well together and work together. Simple as that. We all have our own, because Viv does designs and she put a book out and everything like that. So she and Matthew are the main creative designers on the covers and things. So it's a family affair, you know.
In 2008, celebrating the 40-year anniversary of the release of Odyssey and Oracle, you, along with the other surviving members, began playing live shows. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
We toured England and some parts of Europe and mostly America, to be honest, because we're more popular in America than we were in England. You know,
I've heard that.
And another thing is basically there's a documentary coming out very soon. Tom Hanks helped to do it. It's a 2-hour documentary about the zombies.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know when it might be released? Or
next year, I think.
Was it just like, you know, I always ask this question after so many years, was it just like yesterday? Was the magic all still there, you know, getting back together?
Yes, it was, because the weird thing is when you're on stage, and you might be in your 80s or late 70s, you look along the stage and everyone's 25. You know?
Yeah.
The energy from the crowds is enormous, and the excitement, and being able to play the songs and getting all that recognition at last after all those years, you know.
Right. Unfortunately, I wish I could have seen one of those shows from the early millennium, you know, back then, with this, you know, original members, you know.
Well, the last time we toured was 2019.
Yeah.
I think 2019 with the Beach Boy, Brian Wilson.
With Brian Wilson, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I wish I could have caught one of those shows. Well, and again, between 2008 and the year you just mentioned, 2019, you played with the band the entire Odyssey and Oracle album, right? From start to finish.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. How did that go down with the audience? I'm sure they were
fantastic. It's quite weird actually, because it's funny because it's seeing people, younger people than us, who started out, and I always remember a time we first performed Odyssey and Oracle in London, in Shepherd's Bush. Paul Weller came backstage, and I didn't realize he was such a fan.
Yeah.
But basically, I shyly went up to him and said, basically, hi, Paul, I'm Chris White. And he gave me a great big bear hug and said, you're the reason I started writing songs.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised, and I know you heard how influential you guys were and still are, with so many other bands, being, just influenced heavily by you guys. I think the only other band I can think of, and this was the late 60s, was the American band that did the Baroque stuff, was the Left Bank.
Yes. I don't actually know much about the Left Bank anyway. So.
Pretty Ballerina and Walk Away Renee.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah,
those tracks. Yeah, they were they were doing the Baroque thing too, but not a lot of bands, were picking up on that. Well, I also forgot to mention you worked some with John Verity, who was the one-time replacement for Russ in Argent, and then also in the band Phoenix with Bob and Jim.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Because you did an interview with Jim, didn't you? With Bob, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes. And in fact, I picked up one of the Phoenix, maybe the only CD, or maybe there was a couple. But right. I liked it. It was some good material on there.
I like John Verity's voice. He's a friend of mine still. So we worked, and he does demos for us now, as occasionally.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the Chris White experience, and you mentioned a little bit before we started how that originated, but go into that.
Okay. Oh well, basically, my son said to myself and Viv, basically, we got all these tapes. Why don't you, as you're going to be inducted, touring again? No, what was it? Inducted, that's right. And they said we might as well start putting out there's 800 unreleased demos here, sort of basic things. So I thought that was a good idea. So they started doing that then, left it mostly to them to put it all together. Because my other son Matthew was a recording engineer and worked with lots of studios, London's and Abbey Road and things. And so it was a good idea. Let them do it,
Yeah. Have you? Do you still have some in the vaults, or have you pretty much tapped? Oh, okay. You still have.
In fact, we just uncovered Duffy Power, who was a very strong voice.
Oh, yes.
So we've got a whole album of his coming out as well, being pieced together by someone else. We've licensed the tracks to them, and I've got other albums coming out, another 2 at least, and different singers. We've done different albums, which we're going to reactivate because nobody wanted them then. A bit like Odyssey and Oracle, basically.
Well, we'll mention some of the artists that you've written for or that you've collaborated with.
Well, I don't collaborate with many artists because basically the one I worked with a lot was Rod Argent. I work with my wife, we co-write, and so we've been working with her and other singers, like young girl singer. We met when she was 16, basically, years back. Mind, she's not 16 anymore.
Frozen in time.
Yeah. Her name was Bianca Kinan, and we did an album.
Okay. All right. So, well, how about producing? Who have you really enjoyed your production work with?
I'm trying to think of them all now. So basically, Diana Dawes was fun. You remember the actress Diana Dawes?
Yeah.
Marty Kane, who was an English comedian, I did an album with as well, and she was lovely. But she had a great sense of humour, absolute sense of humour. when I met her once, she said I had dinner with her and her manager, who was at the dinner table in those days, just smoking a cigar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said, "Manny, you and that cigar, you look like a famous star, a film star." And he said, "Oh, yeah, really?" He said, "Yeah, Lassie having a shit." She was fun to work with. She really was. Yeah. Yeah.
She lifted him up and then she just dropped him.
Perfect. Yeah.
That's that's good. That's good. Well, talk a little bit about the Sparrow album. And
Oh,
I
right.
believe that was from '75 that you produced that.
Yes,
Why was it not released at the time?
no idea, to be quite honest, because it was a lovely album.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard some of it. You're right. It is. And it, it does, better late than never, like they say. At least it was finally released. Have you had some positive response?
Oh yes, yeah.
From
There
that?
was some great stuff on there. There's some great people. We're still in contact with some of the band, and we're putting out a Christmas single by the lead singer. So
Okay.
so we're putting out for him. Yeah.
Oh, that might be somebody I want to approach too. One of the members of those.
He lived in Spain, like our drummer Hugh Grundy lives in Menorca now. So
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. I find that a lot of expatriates.
Yeah, there are.
I've interviewed.
Abroad, yeah.
Yeah.
And also Tom Marshall from the band as well. We're putting out an album of his as well. So
Oh, okay.
in contact, it's nice to be friends with people.
Yeah.
Keep in contact with them.
Right. It doesn't hurt.
No.
You're right. Well, would you like to mention or talk about anything and kind of coming to a close here, looking back on your career?
No, I'm just lucky. I'm lucky to have worked with the people I work with, and lucky to have an induction late in life, because then you can look back and you say, well, it was worthwhile doing all that. You write songs for the love of doing it,
Right.
not for the money.
Right.
I can't say because I didn't have any money to start with, so basically only started coming in now, basically. But
well, that must have been, we kind of skipped over that, the induction, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm surprised you guys weren't inducted earlier than 2019.
Nobody knew the hell we were.
Okay.
Only people like you, right?
I did. Yeah. Well, it's always surprising to me that, someone, members of a band that have put out such wonderful material, especially the Odyssey and Oracle, that weren't more well known, that didn't get, and maybe that had to do with a little bit because it was after you guys had broken up, that it was released. And, there wasn't probably a lot of promotion, behind
True.
it. Yeah.
It's funny because we didn't recognize how influential we'd been, except that when we were inducted, we were doing a TV interview backstage, and Brian May put his head around and said, "Just wanted to say how much you affected Queen."
Right.
You didn't know that, you see. This is
You can hear some of those threads through Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tom Petty as well. So
oh, right, Tom Petty. Yeah.
Ben Montench's keyboard player, because they were fans of ours as well, So we didn't know, basically. You find out later, which is a nice way to do it. You don't get big-headed. You just have to survive, basically.
Right. It kind of kept you grounded. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, over the years, like you said, it's the interest has increased.
Yes.
Do you hear from fans from back then and maybe their kids and the grandkids probably now?
Yeah. In fact, when we did Fillmore West in San Francisco, people came up, they were fans of ours, but they had an 8-year-old girl with them, and they weren't allowed to come in. So we put them into a special thing up the stairs. And afterwards, the 8-year kid came up to me after we'd performed and said, "Butcher's Tale was awesome."
Yeah. Yes.
So weird,
Right. How the good music quality is going to travel. I always say that. and through the decades. And you know, you'll be finding, and I know you can confirm this, new fans all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you heavily influential the Zombies were.
Nice to know.
Yes, yes. And
around,
and we'll continue to, you know. I think it was a stroke of genius that you guys again started moving in that Baroque pop, you know, sound.
It's just a natural thing of writing, as simple as that, you know, and the music we liked, you know.
Right, right.
Jazz and the Bach and all those classical composers as well, you know.
Right, right.
It's very affected us. We weren't just into pop music. Well, that was the fun thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it definitely comes across that you enjoyed it in the music. It definitely comes across. All right. Well, Chris, I do appreciate you taking time out and visiting with me and doing this. It's been very enjoyable.
Okay, I'd love to see a copy when you've edited all the bits out.
Yes, I will. Okay. And I know just which ones to cut out.
Yeah.
But again, thank you from one of your you know, longtime fans here.
Pleasure.
And keep you know, doing what you're doing. And any plans to get together or with any of the guys? Or
no, because since Rod's been ill, you know, they're not going to tour anymore.
Right, right.
When you reach 80, travel insurance is terrible.
Right. Yeah, very true.
He's missing. I've spoken to him several times, but he had the minor stroke, you know, so he's recovering from that, basically.
Right.
So well, forever again, you know.
Right. Okay. Well, if you do, you know, talk to him, I wish him well.
I will do, definitely.
Yes, and Colin as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you,
it's been very enjoyable, and all the best to you. And I'll send you a copy of this once I edit a little bit.
Lovely talk. Okay. Bye then.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.